Thanks for joining us here. And so assess your draft at this point. How do you feel it has fallen so far for the Sounders?
I think we were fortunate that we had two guys fall to us that we thought met positional needs for us, particularly depth-wise. Adding a good young center back in Alfaro and a 6, a guy who we think can play deep in midfield and Mathers. We're real happy that we have potentially these guys, whether they make the first team or they make the second team. We think their depth through our organization. One of our goals has been to stock our farm system, and the big move we made today is trading our first pick for a guy that we think is going to lock down a starting position for us.
Garth, hang out for a sec. We're going to get a pick, and we're going to come right back to Vancouver Whitecaps. Have the pick in. Let's go back to the podium. There's been a player to be named later involved today.
Yeah,
Can you shed any light for us?
I'd love to, but we have to get a hold of the player and tell him first, and pay him the respect.
Want me to find a cell phone for you, or what?
Well, we have that, and we've tried. And so if you're listening, answer your phone. But Chicago's got to call him first, and obviously let him know, and then we'll follow up with
Garth,
some more.
we were looking at big pictures so much of this offseason. Obviously, no secret is trying to get Jordan Morris under your umbrella. Twofold question. One, if you do get Jordan Morris, which obviously many of us hope you do, where does he play? Does your tactical game plan change? And two, with the way your salary cap is set up, how important is it for you guys to find some depth in other areas, especially with an Andy Rose leaving?
Sure. I think the losing a minimum salary midfielder is a little bit different than a homegrown guy, just because the homegrown's a different bucket. So from a purely salary cap standpoint, either you get Jordan Morris or you don't. I mean, there isn't another homegrown in our pipeline and in our group that we're going to give that money to. So either it will go unused or it will go to Jordan. So, and that's the way the system's set up, and that is what it is. And people said, well, what's your backup plan? Well, there isn't one, because we're simply able to sign Jordan, or we don't have cap space on the senior roster to sign an additional player. So, it just is what it is. With respect to, we obviously need some bodies in midfield. I think we just drafted one. And I think you look to see us add a couple more guys, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
If you do get Jordan, though, you're looking at Valdez, Martins, and Dempsey, where you guys have spent a lot of money. One of those players has to sit, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, if you recall, we had those guys miss a combined, I think, 50 matches last year in terms of injury, suspension, et cetera, and they're obviously all over 30. So we expect big performances from those guys. I hope they play every week. If it turns out they don't, I think that Jordan's a guy that can help us and give us a little bit of cover.
And regardless, you won't get to see him until training camp is already underway anyway. He's in Germany, then he's going to be with the national team. How much contact do you have with him over there in Germany right now?
I personally haven't talked to him the last couple of days. His dad works for us, and we talk to him pretty regularly. And guys like Adrian Hanauer owns our team, and Ziggy Schmidt, I mean, they've 8 and 10 and 12-year relationships with the family. So, look, I'm confident we're going to have a clear line of communication as to what outcome that reaches. Again, I think we just have to respect the process and respect Jordan. And Taylor, one other thing I'd add to your earlier point is just, as an example, I think it's possible we play with 3 strikers this year. And if you switch to some kind of 4-3-3 alignment now, again, you play the position, but nobody can play 34 plus Champions League plus Open Cup when you're playing with 3, and Jordan's potentially the first guy off the bench in that rotation. So I think there's I sense this fact of, is Jordan going to play? I think Jordan's going to play a ton. Yeah. I think there's going to be opportunity for him literally from the first week when you talk about him coming out of national team camp. Yep. Who's going to be fittest on February 23rd in terms of playing Club America?
Yep. Maybe the story coming out of this
Thanks,
draft
Garth.
as we look forward. Garth Lagerwey, thanks so much for joining us, Garth.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.